big doings at Alabama. We get the latest from Stephen M. Smith of TouchdownAlabama.com. Please join him right there for the best in Alabama football and athletics coverage. TAULIA Tagovailoa is, of course, the younger brother of Tua, just drafted to the Miami Dolphins. TAULIA has entered the transfer portal. Stephen, what could this mean? Of course, Mac Jones was the starting quarterback once Tua went down. So it's been assumed by some that he would win the job regardless. But again, we've got also the factor of a certain five-star by the name of Bryce Young. So it's a certain crowded quarterback room. But TAULIA has considered his options now at this point.
And what's crazy about this, Mark, is we all kind of knew this was coming. TAULIA making the move to go to the transfer portal, but the question was, at what point in time would it come? And since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, not having a spring football season, this really sort of hurt TAULIA, because in the spring, it really gives these athletes an opportunity to see how do they stack up on the roster, what is the pecking order in terms of how does the coaching staff see these particular players. And due to the fact that Alabama did not have the spring, TAULIA did not get a chance to really see, where does he stand in the eyes of the coaching staff. And like you mentioned, as his brother Tua just recently getting drafted here number 5 overall to the Miami Dolphins, TAULIA is seeing kind of that writing on the wall, to where not only do you have to try to beat Mac Jones for the starting job, but you also have to fend off a very gifted 5-star and Bryce Young out of modern day high school. And on top of that, a Paul Tyson, who is very, very gifted and talented, in his own right. So Leah has chose to put his name in the transfer portal. There are a couple of schools that could really be vying for his services, but as of right now, Leah in the portal, and it's between Bryce Young and Paul Tyson to try to get some playing time behind Mac Jones.
Now back to TAULIA's his status, his scouting report, how he was thought of coming out of high school. We're basically talking about the 5th-rated pro-style quarterback coming out of high school. Now he's played 1 season at Alabama. Of course, he only threw a handful of passes for 100 yards in mop-up duty. Was the 8th-rated player in Alabama. Of course, coming from Hawaii, along with his brother, as the family traveled, and that's one of the big reasons why there is speculation about TAULIA and his family going to Miami, and Miami being a great destination because, of course, Tua drafted by the Dolphins, and the family, heck, if they're going to go all the way from Hawaii and travel and support Tua in Tuscaloosa, why not go to Miami and have the entire family down there? So that's where that comes from. But in terms of his prospect, obviously, maybe he's not quite the elite passer or talent that his brother is, but obviously highly, highly regarded, and he could play and vie for a job just about anywhere.
He can, and this was somebody, when he came to Alabama in the 2019 class, Coach Saban talked about TAULIA's toughness, his physicality in terms of the intangibles that he shows. He played through some injuries at Thompson High School here in Alabama, but at the same time, fought through those injuries, showed he can extend the play, showed his dual threat abilities. As you mentioned, may not be the polished, pure passer distributor of the ball that Tua is, but a little bit faster than Tua, a little bit more athletic than Tua, and somebody that has a competitive fire about him. He will get into the face of his teammates and demand excellence from everybody. So he's kind of a little bit of a fiery guy, TAULIA is. So no matter where he goes among the college football ranks, whichever program gets him, they're going to get a competitor. He set quite a few Alabama high school state records. So whoever gets TAULIA is going to get somebody that wants to be great, that wants to be the best, that wants to excel. It's just that for him, Tua had a much easier situation, if I can say that, in Alabama versus TAULIA, just due to Tua. The only quarterback he had to beat out was Jalen Hurts. Mac Jones at that time was a scout team quarterback, with Leah Jones has kind of established himself as somebody that can lead the team to a national championship. And behind him, you have Bryce Young and of course, Paul Tyson. So a little bit more of an uphill climb that Leah had to face versus Tua. But wherever the young man goes, somebody is getting a bona fide competitor.
Stephen M. Smith of TouchdownAlabama.com. Please join him and the rest of the staff there covering Alabama athletics. Of course, we hope to have a football season on time or maybe a few weeks late, probably with no fans, but we will see. We will take football any way we can get it. Taulia Tagovailoa in the transfer portal. You touched on the name of Paul Tyson a few times, and Stephen, before we started to record, you see an opportunity, as you mentioned to me, for this young man, 12th rated pro-style quarterback coming out of high school in 2019, 12th rated player in Alabama, roughly a top 300 player according to the 247 Sports composite. But he's got an opportunity, obviously, here.
He does, and Tyson redshirted last season after playing just one game, and Alabama is now going to have to feature him due to, if it would have kept Taulia Tagovailoa, then the vision of seeing Paul Tyson on the field would have been a lot more crowded, because in seeing what Tua did and how Tua impressed the fans and impressed the coaching staff and the players around him, people had the idea of, well, if Tua can do this, then Taulia, being the younger brother of Tua, who knows what he can bring to the table. So if Leah would have stayed, it would have clouded up the opportunity of seeing Paul Tyson on the field. With Taulia now in the portal, you have to feature, Paul Tyson, and this is somebody that, even though he is the great-grandson of legendary Alabama head football coach Paul Bear Bryant, Tyson is also somebody of whom, in his 24 games as a starter at Hewitt-Trussville High School, he was 19-5, including taking the Huskies to quarterfinal playoff appearances in both years, 2017 and 2018, throwing for 6,580 passing yards, 69 touchdowns to 13 picks. And when you study the tape, there are 4 pro quarterbacks in this young man's game. Body-wise, he resembles Ben Roethlisberger at 6'5", 235 pounds. He's got the arm strength of a Phillip Rivers. He's got the accuracy ability of a Drew Brees. And from talking to a lot of his coaches from Hewitt-Trussville, I've been told he's got the leadership traits of a Tom Brady. So talk about the amount of quarterbacks that just came out of my mouth there. But when you talk to the coaches at Hewitt-Trussville, this is how highly they think about and they regard this young man, Paul Tyson. He came out of high school with 30 offers, and he has been not just doing well in the sports performance or the condition training brought in from David Ballou and Dr. Matt Ray from Indiana, but also he has been tearing up the play calling system of Steve Sarkisian, handling everything that the offensive coordinator has been able to throw at him. So while people look at Bryce Young being the immediate beneficiary of Taulia hitting the portal, I'll bring up Paul Tyson due to Leah and Paul both came to Alabama in 2019. They both faced each other multiple times in high school and put on a show in the high school circuit in Alabama. With Leah in the portal now for Alabama, you have to turn to Paul Tyson and find a way to feature him in this offense as well, just due to he has got a very exceptional arm. I remember speaking with one Jared Maiden, former Alabama safety, who's now in the NFL, signed a free agent deal with the San Francisco 49ers. And Maiden basically said this young man has a very strong, a very accurate arm. Maiden actually saw Paul Tyson zip the ball 70, 80 yards down the field in practice to a walk-on receiver, and the ball literally broke the walk-on's finger. So Paul Tyson had some heat on the football, and despite the walk-on making the catch, suffered the casualty of losing that finger. So Tyson's got some zip on the football.
Brady, Brees, Big Ben, and Phillip Rivers characteristics in those categories, you put all those together, it sounds like the greatest quarterback of all time. So, again, interesting to see Paul Tyson possibly get into the mix. with Mac Jones and Bryce Young there at Alabama for the quarterbacking jobs. That'll be an interesting race. And keep in mind when Stephen talks about Paul Tyson, that he made a prediction a few years ago. Well, I guess it's been about 6 years ago that Blake Sims, who was the decided underdog in that quarterback race, would emerge as the starting quarterback at Alabama as he did in 2014. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please like, comment, share the videos on social media, and subscribe as we discuss, debate, and analyze college football like no one else. Stephen M. Smith of TouchdownAlabama.com on the line. Ja'Cory Brooks, 4-star from Miami. We've talked a little Miami by way of TAULIA possibly looking at the Canes, but the Tide gets a prospect, a very prized prospect, number 3 rated wide receiver, according to the 247 Sports Composite. Ja'Cory Brooks out of Booker T. Washington High School, Stephen.
And this is huge for the Tide because the wide receiver position, Mark, is one of importance for Alabama for the 2021 class. As you look at Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, a senior this upcoming season. Hopefully we have the football season, along with Jalen Waddle, who would be a junior. Alabama more than likely could lose both guys to the NFL draft after this season. And then on top of that, when you look at the possibility of a third receiver rising, whether it would be Tyrell Shavers or John Mechie, Slade Bolden, or Xavier Williams, whichever one of those 4 rises up, could the Crimson Tide potentially lose that guy as well. So got to continue stockpiling the talent at the wide receiver position. After getting a Jai Hall, you pick up Ja'Cory Brooks, as you mentioned, a 4-star from Booker T. Washington High School in Miami. And according to the coaches that have worked with him, they kind of compare him to one Amari Cooper, who played at Miami Northwestern High School. And they say that, you know, Brooks at this point right now is a little bit more polished than what Amari Cooper was. So that's an interesting comparison. That's an interesting trait that they brought to the table. But a young man at 6'3", he's got big-time physical skills body-wise. He wants to continue to grow and mature as a route runner, which he will do in the upcoming season as he enters his senior year. So it's going to be fun watching the maturation of Brooks as a route runner. But he's got the size, got the talent, got the capability. And after seeing Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, and Calvin Ridley all come from that South Florida pipeline, and all be, you know, first-round picks in their respective draft classes, Nick Saban continued to go to the Sunshine State well for receivers.
Stephen Smith, TouchdownAlabama.com. We encourage you, as always, to jump on over there and check out Stephen and the rest of the staff and what they have in store. Stephen, I know you've got a ton going on in addition to the site on YouTube. You've got a call-in show. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Well, first and foremost, they can find me on Twitter at Coaching M. Smith on Twitter, Coaching M. Smith on Twitter. Also, taking some time to do some volunteer coaching here at the hometown high school. So hopefully we can get some high school football going as well as the college football season. But at Coaching M. Smith on Twitter. The site, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. That's touchdownalabama.com. You can check us out, touchdownalabama.com, breaking down the Crimson Tide from every angle imaginable. The site there on Twitter at TD Alabama Mag. And the listeners can catch, in my own words, the podcast, the show on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Time, talking all Tide football they can handle.
Well, I checked it out for a few minutes the other night, and I was not surprised, Stephen, because it's what you have delivered here and elsewhere for years and years and years, doing a tremendous job covering Alabama athletics. Stephen, you have a great day. We appreciate you stopping by and laying down the knowledge on Brooks and TAULIA.
I appreciate it, man. Y'all take care.